Hi, everybody, and good morning. It is Thursday, January 27th, and we're here together for my research methods class that is online. Good morning. Thank you all for joining me. I see a lot of you getting your. It is. Why am I hearing other voices? I'm hearing my voice talking to myself. My phone was repeating everything I was saying. That was bizarre. But good morning. I'm glad. At least I know the audio is working. But I see a lot of you getting logged in. Thank you so much for being on here with me this morning. It's windy. It's a little cold too, but I like it. So uh, we have a kind of a little bit busier week this week. We got a few things going on. So a little bit more to cover today, so I want to get into that right away. Of course, I have to mention the football games, though, really quickly. I only have this week and next week and Super Bowl week to mention football, so I got to, I got to get into it. Little sad. I'm a little sad that Tom Brady didn't win. I've gotten spoiled, right? It's difficult when you get used to somebody going to the Super Bowl every single year. Like you can't win them all, right? I was a little sad that Brady lost to the Rams, but at least it was a good game. Not nearly as good as the other game, though. If any of you watched it, the Mahomes, Allen, the Bills, and the Chiefs, that was such an amazing game. So I hope we get some more good games this weekend. Um, Let's see, and I'm sorry, there was a couple of people asking questions. Hope we have some good games this weekend, and I'm excited that the weekend is coming up so soon. So anyway, I will focus back in, but I had to mention it at least. DJ, yes, it looks like you have figured out how to do it. You do have the football cake next to your name, so that's perfect. You have gotten your subscription and figured it out. Yeah, it was like the best divisional games ever, right? That could have been the Super Bowl, the game of the Chiefs and the Bills was could I mean, it was just phenomenal. I was just standing there pacing. I can't even believe that 13 seconds and Mahomes was able to march down that field, get the team down the field, and then they kicked the field goal and won. That was phenomenal. Everything. I got to get this. There's a new T-shirt that just came out that says "Be the Grim Reaper." So I'm very excited to. I got to get it that Mahomes was the Grim Reaper. When things are grim, be the Grim Reaper. Or there's another one that says, just give me 13 seconds. I think they'd both be quite funny. But yeah, go 49ers. Yeah, that's crazy. It's going to be good games this weekend. So I am definitely interested to see. Yeah, I wish they can't. Yeah, they're talking a lot about changing the overtime rule because if the Bills had gotten the ball, they would have won, right? So they definitely need to change that rule. They should at least both get a shot, right? That was just a phenomenal game. It reminded me of the playoff game of the Chiefs and the Patriots with Brady and Mahomes a couple of years ago. Same thing happened. Brady got the ball and they won. But yeah, wild games. So anyway, I will focus back in. But yeah, thank you for those of you who gave me some football comments. I will happily take it. So anyway, back to our class. Let's go over to Canvas together and take a look at everything that we have going on. We are in week number 3. It feels like the semester is just like flying by. I can't even believe that we're in week 3 already. But I just want to make a couple of quick comments about week number 2, and then we will talk about the stuff that we have going on this week. So last week we started chapter 2, which we are still focusing on this week, just the second half. And so I just want to make a few general comments about discussion number 2, trying to make sure, again, still all of you understand my expectations and where you can find your grades and all of that kind of stuff. And so discussion number 2, you were looking at science versus pseudoscience. And this is something that we kind of have I feel like we've maybe really focused on quite a bit in the first 2 weeks, really trying to understand how scientists and psychologists think about the world as opposed to maybe how most of us think about the world. And so I asked you to think about some of the key differences between science and pseudoscience, the demarcation problem, and some problems with this classification. And I was really happy with what a lot of you came up with. Some of you gave me examples, which was just fantastic. Overall, really, really nicely done. Remember that you can always find your feedback and your grades. I'll show you in just a second where the video is on how to do that, just in case you didn't find it last week. But most of you got 13, 14, 15 points, a lot of really great scores. Remember the two big pieces of advice, I think, just to again pass on. Remember to always elaborate. Some of you, I wrote in your feedback, I wanted a little bit more, or try to elaborate a little bit more in your responses. It is better to give me too much than not enough. So really try to show off your knowledge of the materials, show me that you understand and can apply all of it. And a lot of you did that. And so if you got 1 point off or 2 points off, just make sure you give me a little bit more moving forward. And if you ever want more individual feedback about your grade, you can always reach out to me. I'm here and I would be happy to give you that feedback. Also, don't forget to respond to a classmate. Okay, so not only are you answering my questions, but as it says right here, let me highlight this so you can see it easily. Make sure that you're reading through a minimum of 5 of your classmates' responses and then replying to one of them. I know it's only 2 points, but those 2 points will start to add up. And they're kind of an easy 2 points, so you want to make sure that you are getting them every week. So as I said, overall, really nicely done. A lot of you got 13, 14, or 15 points. A lot of you did the Twitch extra credit, which I think is fantastic. Get those bonus points. If you do them every week and join me every week, those points will definitely start to add up. And it's always nice to have a little bit of a buffer as well. So the one thing I told you I would point out here, if you scroll up a little bit, there's this page that says grades, timing, finding your feedback, and using them as a learning opportunity. And so if you weren't able to find your grades, I did make a little, it's like 2-minute video on how to find your feedback and grades that you might consider watching. Otherwise, hopefully you are finding your grades, looking at them every week. And if you ever have questions or comments on them, of course, feel free to reach out to me. I did post a recording of our live stream from last week, and I'll do that again today when we're done. So if you weren't able to make it live, or maybe you cut out for part of it or had to leave early or came in late, you can always watch it again later. So let me put this in the chat here. Any questions, comments, thoughts, anything at all about last week before we move on to week number 3? And we have a couple of things going on this week that are different, so plenty of time to talk about that together. But any questions, comments, thoughts, anything at all before we move on? I'll give you just I'll wait a few seconds here just to give you a chance to catch up, or type it if you have one. Hopefully everything seems pretty clear and you're feeling good about everything. But if you ever have questions, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer them for you. Oh, my cat. He's close. Hi, Rolly. I get so excited when my cats come nearby. He just stands just far enough away that I can't reach him. He's smart. Sassy, such a cat. All right, I'm going to move on to week number 3. And if you think of anything, feel free to put it in the chat. So this week, we're looking at part 2 of chapter 2. And in part 2, we kind of move on to a different topic. So I wanted to divide it up, and I think it worked out really well that way with our timing. So make sure this week, order of business number 1, that you read these 10 pages, this part 2 in the textbook. And then you're going to want to read through the lecture and watch the lecture video. So let's take a look at the lecture together really quickly. Page 1 is always going to be objectives and summaries. So here are the learning objectives and a brief little summary of the chapter, in this case, this part of the chapter. And so we're looking a lot at this week, how can we find articles about scientific research? How do we read scientific articles? How do we access that? And that's kind of the theme of the week. So you can listen to it or read it, of course. The Beyond the Book page this week, I'm talking a little bit about academic versus non-academic sources. And this is a really key concept for this week. How do we look at scholarly or non-scholarly sources, or academic, non-academic sources? Evaluating websites. What are some of the things that we look at when we're checking a website's authority and content and so on? The other thing that you have down here, if you scroll all the way down, is there is a library session that you will need to watch this week. Now, this was something that I had recorded last year, by our librarian. Thankfully, they recorded it, so I had it to share with you this time around. But this is an incredibly helpful video. It's going to help you a lot with the discussion for this week. And it's also going to help you with homework assignment number 1, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So be sure to watch this. It is posted on YouTube, which I think makes it a little easier to watch from any device. But be sure to watch this. This is going to be something that's really helpful for a couple of things that we have going on this week. And then on the last page, as usual, here are the key terms that you need to know for this week. So these are the terms from Chapter 2, Part 2, if you wanted to be reviewing the content for this week as we go along in preparation for that first exam, which we will have, I believe it's next week. So make sure that you are reviewing all of that you read through the entire lecture. Click on anything that's in there, watch the videos that I've included for you. You'll also want to watch the lecture video that I have, and it's a little bit shorter. I was trying to be mindful of your time, especially since I had you watch that whole library presentation video. But I did make a little lecture for you on the second part of Chapter 2 with the slides. You might want to take notes. The materials on this will definitely appear on the exam. So be sure to read through this, watch through this, and take notes and all of that stuff. So those things are kind of business as usual, reading the chapter, reading the lecture, watching the lecture video. You also have a usual discussion for this week. So discussion number 3 is building on the information that we have learned in not only the library video, but the stuff from the chapter for this week. So make sure that you watch my little introduction video that I made for you, where I talk a little bit about the prompt and give you some examples. Make sure that you answer my questions and that you also reply to one of your classmates. So the questions for this week, or the topic for this week, I'd like you to choose a specific search topic related to psychology. Anything related to psychology. So I gave you some examples: PTSD, depression, anorexia, EMDR, intrinsic motivation, emotions, and so on, right? Anything related to psychology. And then I want you to do a search using 3 different platforms: a general search engine like Yahoo or Google. Then I want you to use Google Scholar, and then Psych articles. And after you've completed your search, you'll answer the following questions related to Chapter 2, Part 2 on sources of information. And if you're like, I have no idea how to use Psych articles or Google Scholar, the video from the library, our librarian will show you how to use those. So she's going to show you the difference between Google Scholar and Psych articles and how to access and use those pieces of information and search engines. So that's going to be really helpful for you for this discussion. So once you have done your search on these 3 different platforms, 1, what is your specific search topic? So what is it that you wanted to look into? 2, I want you to reflect on the differences between the 3 different search platforms. What kind of information did you get from the general search engine, like Yahoo, Google, whatever? What were the results? Were they based on research? Did you see more commercial websites, blogs, etc.? Which of the 3 platforms is the easiest to use when you wanted a general overview of the topic? Which platform gave you the most up-to-date research? And which of the 3 makes it the easiest to know if the information has been peer-reviewed? Number 3, what is the difference between an academic source and a non-academic source? Give me an example of each. They go over this in the library video. I also went over this in my lecture and in the Canvas lecture. And then finally, describe an advantage and a disadvantage of using something like Wikipedia. Wikipedia is fantastic, but it is limited, right? So I want you to give me an advantage and disadvantage, again, something that the librarian and myself talk about in the lectures for this week. So I think this is kind of a nice way to see the difference in how you search for information. So any topic that you would like, do some searches, and then you're going to write about and reflect on it for this week. When you're ready to answer my question, you'll hit reply right here, and that will bring up the text box where you can type your response. Again, always a good idea to save it. And then you'll see a bunch of you have already done this, right? Like, so let's say that I want to reply to Grace, and I'm like, oh, I love that you looked up OCD, right? And I love the thoughts that you have. I want to comment on it. I can hit reply. Or Justine, right, that you looked at anorexia and adolescence, and I want to comment on that, right? So when you have finished your response to my questions, make sure that you read through some of the things that your peers have done, and then reply to one of them. And a lot of you have done this already: depression, bulimia, adolescence, PTSD, some really interesting topics. So I hope you have a chance to read through some of the things your classmates came up with, and then don't forget to reply to one of them. So that is the discussion for this week. Again, all of those things so far, kind of business as usual, reading the chapter, completing the lectures and the discussion. But we do have two other things this week that are a little bit different. Let's talk about the quick one really fast, and then I'll talk about homework assignment number 1. Something that I added this semester, because the college is really pushing for this as a whole, I made a little survey that I want you to take. So we've completed 2 weeks of the class, and I want to check in with you and see how you feel, how you're doing, if there's anything you're confused about. So click on the survey right here, survey checking in. And it's only 2 questions. It should take you no more than like 5 minutes to complete. And it's available till the end of the week. It's completely anonymous, so I will not know who said what. So please feel free to be honest. But when you're ready, take the survey. And this is your chance to just give me a little bit of feedback, right? I'm trying to kind of understand your comfort level, how you're feeling, if you're confused, if there's anything that could be better. I'm constantly trying to improve things, so this is your chance to help me with that. So question 1, are you comfortable with the course website and requirements after reading the syllabus, mandatory orientation materials, and completing the first 2 weeks of required content? Are you comfortable? Yes or no? If you're not, let me know how I could maybe make things more clear. What is it that you're confused about? Give me a little bit of feedback. Okay? If you're feeling good about everything, you can write that as well. Number 2, do you have any additional questions or comments about the course, the readings, the assignments, the class structure? I promise you it won't hurt my feelings if you give me suggestions, or even if you say like, it's all good, I'm feeling good about it. Remember, this is completely anonymous, so just give me some of your feedback. How are you feeling? How are things going? And it's my chance to kind of give you that chance to let me know that without it having to be attached to your name. So make sure you complete that at some point this week. Just a quick little checking in, shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes, but it gives me a chance to make sure that everyone is feeling good. And if there are any questions or points of confusion, I can address them. So that's the survey. That one's super easy. But let's talk about the homework assignment. This one is a little more involved. You do have 4 homework assignments over the course of the semester, and they're each worth 25 points. So it's more than a discussion. You're going to want to make sure that you put some good time into this because it is worth 25 points. It's a good amount of points, right? So here are the instructions. Let's go ahead and go through them together. And then I also gave you a little sample at the bottom. So for this first homework assignment, the point is for you to gain experience locating an APA-style empirical article through Psych articles, and to practice locating the specific components of an empirical article. So again, that library video, she's going to show you step-by-step how to use Psych articles. So that's going to be so helpful for this if you've never used it before. And you could also kind of, double up a little bit. Whatever topic you choose for the discussion, you could also use here. And so when you're looking on Psych articles, you can use it in both cases. That's totally fine. So here are the requirements. Length and formatting, this should be roughly a page to 2 pages. Standard formatting, standard margins. Yes, so I just said that, right? You were on the same wavelength as me. Yes, you may definitely use both. That's completely fine for this assignment. In fact, it might be kind of interesting to use both and save you a little bit of time. Totally fine with that. Thank you for checking. Yes, it would be fine to use the same topic for the discussion and the homework. All right, they have a little bit different focus, but you could easily use the same topic. So roughly 1 to 2 pages. Again, standard margins, typed, standard font, double spaced, the kind of standard APA formatting that we'll talk about more later in the semester. And I really want you to label everything, right? I'll show you the sample down below, but make it really simple for me to see, each of the components of the assignment. And again, I'll show you that in a moment. the contents and the specifics. So you're going to go to Psych articles, right? And I give you a little bit of instructions here. You're going to pick a topic related to psychology. And again, it could totally be the same one that you used for your discussion. That's fine. And then I want you to locate an empirical article that adheres to the APA style in terms of the sections that it has. So it should have an abstract, an introduction, a method, results, discussion, and references. If it doesn't have all of those sections, you're going to want to choose a different one because it's really important to have those sections for the assignment. You're going to click on PDF full text, download and save a copy of that because you're going to also send that to me with your submission. So in addition to your paper that you write, you're going to send me the actual article so that I can read through it and double check that you have done the components correctly. So make sure that you not only locate an article, but that you also save and download it. And then you can send that to me with your paper. And again, Danielle in the library video shows you how to do that. Step number 5, in addition to uploading your article PDF, in your typed paper, the paper that you're writing, you're going to complete the following. Now you're doing a lot of locating and copying for this paper, and that might feel a little strange, but my point of this is for you to find an article that's APA style, and then start to get comfortable with identifying the components of that article. All right, so what you will do is you'll first provide me the title, authors, and publication information for your article. Second, you'll copy and paste the abstract for your article and label it abstract. You'll copy and paste the first sentence for each section of the paper, the method, results, discussion, and then you're also going to label them appropriately. And again, I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And then I want you to read the article. Okay, so you don't have to read it in like great detail, but give it a quick read. I want you to kind of skim through it. Don't worry about understanding everything completely, but try and get like the general gist and essence of what happened in the article. What were they studying? What did they want to know? What did they find out? And so on. And then the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to summarize the article in a couple of sentences, as if you were telling somebody about it. Right? Like say you were to look at a friend or a partner or a family member and you said, hey, I read this article today. It was about, and that is your chance to kind of summarize it briefly. Right? And this is a skill that is so important. I had a teacher do this in when I was in graduate school, and it was such an amazing skill. Learning how to summarize an article in a couple of sentences is difficult to do, and the more you practice it, the better that you'll get at doing it. I'll get there in a minute. Give me 1 second, and then I understand why you're a little bit confused. So this is what you're writing. You're writing all of these things that are here, and mostly it's you copying information from the article. So I'll show you what that looks like down below, and that should hopefully help answer your question that you just asked. Okay? Not a dumb question at all, by the way. I'm glad that you asked so that I could help you to clarify and understand. So the details, your article link, right, the article that you send me and the corresponding write-up and paper will be submitted right here on Canvas, and it's due by this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. If you want to submit it late, I do accept these assignments late, but it's 10% off per day, so like 3 points off per day. So you'll have to email it to me, but better late than not at all. Just try and get it in before this Sunday night, and you should be in great shape. Yeah, no problem. Thank you again for asking. So if you scroll up to the top, this is where you'll submit it, right? See where it says Start Assignment? If you click on that, it's going to open up a spot where you can upload a file. Okay, so this is where you'll upload the paper that you type out along with the PDF of your article, and then you'll hit Submit. You can make comments if you need to, but you can add your files here by saving them to your computer and then uploading them. Okay, so that's where you'll go ahead and submit this. Up at the top, this is where you'll submit the assignment. Remember that it's limited here to a few different formats. So doc, docx, PDF, and RTF. So if you have pages, you'll have to convert it. And it's due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So let's take a look at what this will look like, right? And again, this is going to be about a page. It's not going to be super long, but you're also submitting the article. If you don't submit the article to me, you'll lose some points. So make sure you do that. That's kind of the easy thing to do. So here's a short sample submission, right? So this would be what you typed up. At the top of it, it would probably have your name and the class and that information. I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, that's fine. So you're not editing the article. You are typing up a separate page. So again, here, let me show you this, this example and see if that helps. So at the top, you probably have your name, right? And then you're going to write title. Here's the title of the article that I found. Keep your distance. People sit farther away from a man with schizophrenia versus diabetes. Then you're going to say authors and give me the authors for your paper or your article. What is the journal and publication information? And then you'll give me the journal, the volume, when it was done, and so on. Okay, so you're literally writing title and then copying the title from your paper. Writing authors, copying the authors. Writing the journal and publication information and copying it. I'm looking to see that you can find that information on the article that you've selected. Okay, so you're not necessarily writing anything novel or new. You're identifying and copying what's already there. Okay? Then what you'll do is you'll write abstract, and you're going to copy word for word, so copy and paste from the article, the abstract. Again, I'm looking to see that you can find the abstract in the paper, identify it, and copy it. Okay. Then what you'll do is you'll write introduction, method, results, and discussion. Those are the major sections of any APA style paper. And all you're going to do after that is copy the first sentence from each one of those sections. Again, my goal is to see that you can find those sections, and you're going to do that and show me that you can do that by copying the first sentence. So method, and then here's the first sentence from the method section. Results section, here's the first sentence from results. And discussion, the first sentence from that. So you're not necessarily creating anything new up to this point. You're just identifying, finding, and copying and including that in your paper. The one thing that you are writing that should be your own creation is the last part of the instructions up here, right? Summarizing the article in a couple of sentences. So I wrote here my 1 to 2 sentence summary, and then here is me summarizing the article briefly. The study was examining stigma towards schizophrenia versus stigma toward diabetes. And researchers found that people who reported greater levels of fear sat farther away from people with schizophrenia over those with diabetes. So again, after you've done your quick read, you're going to summarize the article in a few sentences as if you were explaining it to somebody who hadn't read it. And again, this is a skill that you'll get better and better at. It's a little challenging to do, but you're going to just in a couple of sentences summarize and describe the article to me. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little confusing in that you aren't necessarily writing a paper, but you are finding, identifying, and showing me that you can find those elements of the paper. And the one thing that you are kind of creating on your own is the couple of sentence summary of the article that you read. Does that make sense? Hopefully that answers some of your questions. Any questions about this? Anything that you're still confused about? You'll write more in the next couple of papers that you're doing for me, the next homework assignments. Again, my goal with this one is to get you to go onto Psych articles, find an APA style article, which is an experience in itself, and then identify the components by showing me each one of these sections. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's why I wanted to walk you through it here in our time today. Not a lot of work on your part. This one should be kind of an easier assignment for you to do, but it's important. It's important to be able to find and identify these different components. So I hope that makes sense. Again, what you'll do is you'll hit start assignment, and then you'll upload the PDF of the article that you read, and then upload your submission, which will be identifying each of those components. Okay? And if you're still confused about anything with that, put it in the chat, and I would be happy to answer it for you. All right. The only other thing that you have for this week down here in week number 3 is there is the optional Twitch extra credit, which I will give you here in just a moment. I have a couple of quick reminders for you while I'm waiting to see if you have any questions for me, or you can ask me at the end as well. That's totally fine. So reminder number 1, and I will remind you every week. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. Don't forget to take a moment to check your subscription status. Next week, when we're in week 4, a lot of you will probably fall off. You'll notice that you no longer are subscribed. You don't have the cake next to your name anymore. Remember that the free subscription's only good for 30 days. But thank you so much again to those of you who have gone through and done this. It saves me so much time, and I greatly appreciate that. We're all so busy, and I appreciate you helping me out with that. A couple of you still have the last step to do. If you can, for example, Mallory and Jennifer, I think you're the only 2 I saw on here. You only have the crown next to your name, which means you still need to go onto my Psyched with Setmire page, click on that purple drop-down menu, and all the way at the bottom, select that subscribe for free with your Twitch Prime subscription. So you have one more step to do, and if you haven't done this yet, feel free to do this at any time. Again, I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done this, make sure you put your first and last name in the chat at some point. The other reminder, our next Twitch live stream will be on Thursday next week. Next Thursday, which is the 3rd, oh my goodness, February 3rd. So next Thursday, 2/3 at 10 o'clock a.m., just like this week. Okay, so our next Twitch live stream will be on Thursday morning next week at 10, just like we had today. And there is a strong likelihood that I will change these times moving forward in a couple of weeks. So in a couple of weeks, it sounds like the classes that were scheduled to be in person will be going back in person. So I will actually have to change the time because I will have a class that is meeting. So I might change this in the coming weeks, but for now, we will stay with this for at least 2 more weeks since classes aren't going to go back in person until February 14th. So for next week, Thursday morning at 10 in the morning. The last thing that I have for you is to give you the Twitch extra credit question for this week. I wrote it down already, so let me copy and paste it into the chat. And this is something that you can definitely find in the lecture on Canvas and also the video lecture I made for you. The question is, what are some of the questions you should ask about a website before deciding to use it as a research resource? So what are some of the questions that you should ask about a website before you decide to use it as a resource? And when you're ready to answer that, you'll head over to Canvas, click on optional Twitch extra credit number 3, because we're in week 3. And then up here at the top, you'll click on start assignment. And that will open the text box where you can type your response. Okay, hit submit, confetti burst. And then they started putting random things in here too. Look at, like, today was flowers, confetti and flowers. Yesterday was confetti and flames, I think. So you can see what will happen. But what happens after this is this will be due by Sunday night. I grade them throughout the week. So if you get it wrong for some reason, I will let you know and you can try again. But please feel free to do this. It is worth 2 points, and those 2 points will come in handy. When you push the subscribe purple button, it says I still have to pay. No, do not pay for this. Please don't ever pay for this. Let me see if I can show you really quickly. If you go to my Twitch page, so I'm not sure if you can see this. For whatever reason on my end, this doesn't seem to show up correctly. And let me see if I can make it just a little smaller in the view so you can see it right. That should do it here. Okay, so I'm going to go to my friend's channel because I can't show you on mine. So let me go to my buddy Sticker G, my friends here who do a lot of streaming. So notice right here, so if I'm on their channel, do you see how right here underneath there's this purple bar, right? So if you click on the down arrow, the drop down arrow, it's going to bring up this little option. They have all these emotes and stickers and badges because they do this for a living. I don't have any of that. I just have the one, the football cake. I was proud of that one, right? But all the way down at the bottom of that little page that opens up is this button right here that says Use Prime Sub. Okay, so all right, thank you, right? Tropical Geek. I made it smaller. I figured it out, right? So if you go right here and you click Use Prime Sub at the bottom, see how it says free now? It says subscribe free with Prime. And so that is what you need to do. That's the last step. So you'll click on this right here where it says use Prime sub. See how it has the little crown next to it? And now you can click subscribe with Prime for free. And again, it's only good for 30 days, but you can renew it every 30 days for free, and that will work. Right? Assuming you have not used your Prime sub on yours. You don't see that box on yours. That's strange because I do see the crown next to your name. So maybe you've used it or somebody else in your family has used it. If you can't figure it out, it's totally okay. Please do not pay for this. I don't want you paying money for this. It should be free. And if it's not, then just follow me and make sure you put your first and last name, and that's okay as well. I always ask because it saves me time and effort, and also I think it makes your experience a little better as well. I know, right? You need your brother. I gave you instructions, right? So if you go back on here, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's not really the focus. But if you go back under modules, I gave you a step-by-step page on how to do this, on how to connect those things together. So if you can figure it out, great. And if you can't, don't worry about it. It's totally okay. But I did give you step-by-step instructions along with a video that might be helpful. Okay, so those are all the things that I wanted to go over with you for this week. Make sure that you get going on reading the chapter, the lectures, the homework assignment, and that short little check-in survey. And then if you want to answer the question, that's great as well. And that's really sweet of you to offer. Thank you. You said you're very familiar with Twitch. If you have any questions or need help, feel free to message me on Canvas. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for offering that. Remember, there's this little thing here. If we go to modules, I did make a student lounge. So I'm not sure, is it Christy or Kristen? I'm not sure what your actual name is here. But if you wanted to go into the student lounge, that might be a good place for you to connect and ask each other questions or help each other out with this. It's just an open discussion forum where you can ask each other for help rather than asking me if you wanted to connect with each other. So just something to put out there if you wanted to use it. No pressure to use it, but it is there if you're interested. Okay. Christine, okay, good. Sorry about that. Christine, so very nice of Christine to offer. If you wanted to message her on here or on Canvas, you totally could. Or again, you could use that little discussion forum if you wanted to. Okay. So again, that's everything that I wanted to go over with for all of you today. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves. Try and stay healthy. Enjoy the weekend that is coming up. We're almost there. And if you do think of any questions, I'm going to hang out for the next like 10 minutes or so. Jenny, you figured it out. That's fantastic. Thank you. If you have any questions, I will hang out for a little bit. Otherwise, feel free to email me later in the week. But I'm going to minimize my video just so I'm not staring at myself. But I will hang out for a little while. Otherwise, have a wonderful week. You too, Christine, thank you. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all next Thursday morning for our week number 4 live stream. All right, so have a wonderful week. And again, I'll hang out for a little bit if you have any other questions about the homework and so on. Okay? Yes, it would definitely be helpful to take before neuropsych. It's interesting that you bring that up. We actually are working on making it a prerequisite so that you would know all of this stuff before taking behavioral neuropsych. So yes, I completely agree. Thank you for saying that. Interesting, right? I used to teach physiological psych. That's a tough class. Neurobehavioral psych is definitely difficult. I would completely agree with you. It was probably one of the harder subjects for me. Really interesting, but challenging. So yes, make sure if you had the opportunity, it's good that you're taking this potentially before. And if not, that's okay too. You can take them together, or you can still do it. It's just a little easier if you have this background before you take that. There isn't a practice test. No, so I don't have a practice test for you. The biggest thing that you can do is just review the terms. Next week, we have exam number 1. And so what I will do next week is I will talk about some of the things to do to prepare for the exam. We'll go over the study guide together. So next week we'll focus on that quite a bit. And if you have any questions about the exam or the study guide, I'll be able to answer those for you next week. Definitely. Thank you. If you were queen in designing the flow, I love that. Right. I completely agree with you though. And as a department, we agree. And that's something that we really tried to do. We actually tried to renumber our courses to make it where people would take it in that progression. And we're talking a lot about making it a prereq. So I appreciate the feedback. And I think as a department, all of us agree with you 100%. Yes, I have another class at 11. Let me look. Right. Yes, I have my online intro site class in about 20 minutes. So yeah, I'll be back shortly. Right. Thank you. I love it. You're my little fan. I love that you join me and that you help out. You're such a wonderful helper, and I appreciate you answering questions about the things that I know you know. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind of you to say. I'm not even teaching so much on here. This is just me doing reminders and sharing. So that's very sweet of you to say. I don't know you should give me your real name so I have it. Just call you Tropical Geek. If you want me to refer to you by your real name, I would be happy to do so. Gotcha. Sounds like a plan. Just geek. All right, perfect. I appreciate you though as well. Thank you. Oh, for sure. Yeah, we don't have a practice test in here, but like I said, I will definitely go over everything next week so that you feel good about the exam or as good as you can feel. I know exams are always cause a lot of anxiety, but I promise to go over it quite a bit for you next week. All right, everyone. I have another class coming up shortly, so I'm going to close this up so that I can download this, and then I will upload a video of it a little later on. If you think of any other questions, please feel free to email me. Again, I am here for you. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next Thursday.